So can you tell us about this project for writing bedtime stories through Old Town Carnival Week done virtually, please?
Well, I didn't actually write them specially. I have these are stories that I've written over the years, and I've kind of finished some off and tweaked them and improved them. But Neil from the stables approached me and asked if I had any stories that the actors at the stables could perform. And I've got a nice store of both published stories and poems and also unpublished things. So he approached me, and I'm just really excited by the idea of the actors kind of taking these things and doing what they want with them. That's really exciting to me. So I'm really happy to let them go with it, really, and see what they come up with. So
Oh, that's interesting, because that's more of a an interesting mystery, because there'll be some we might recognise in a new form, might there be, and some we've not encountered before. So how did you make the selection?
Well, I gave I gave them quite a big choice, and I quite like kind of relinquishing control and giving them a selection to choose. But yeah, some will be quite familiar for different reasons. Children who I've kind of told stories to over the years, hopefully will recognise some of them. One of them, Francis the Scaredy Cat, is the first story I ever had published, so I really hope some people will recognise that, which is for really young children.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a story that I've performed quite a lot, but has never been written down, or has never kind of been written down properly before, but which I kind of dreamt up quite a few years ago, called The Garden of Lost Creatures, which is kind of about the kind of extinct animals of Great Britain. It kind of links in with that, and it's kind of a story that I've kind of performed at the Rye Christmas Festival and in libraries and at the Sherwood, the Hastings Contemporary, over the years. Yeah, and then some poems from my recent poetry book, Me and My Alien Friend. And again, I think that's gonna be the youth theatre doing those. And they're gonna choose some poems from there that they're going to perform. And then lastly, two stories that people might know, possibly not from me, but because they're old stories that I've retold. They're folk tales that I'm really fond of, that I've rewritten and retold. And I actually did that partly because before this, the museum approached me to do some work for them, and I kind of started retelling folk tales kind of based on things that you find in the museum. So we've got the legend of I hope I pronounce this right, Tir na Nog, which is the I think the most famous Irish myth of the land of eternal youth. So it's very much my version of that. Just going to turn my phone off because it's pinging. That's that strange pinging. So let's just sorry, let's just get rid of this phone. There we go.
That's all right. It sounded like magical sound effects.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. So yeah, I've retold the legend of Tir na Nog in a very kind of particular way. And last of all, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to go through them all, but and last of all, a rather more obscure folk tale called The Three Birds, which is an old Celtic folk tale which I've set in Hastings. So I think there's going to be quite a mix. What I really went for is
Yes.
quite a mix of different age groups, because Tir na Nog, I think, is definitely not a story for really young kids. It's
No,
more.
I know it vaguely, and I think it's quite dark, isn't it?
It's quite dark. It hasn't got a happy ending. Hopefully that's not given away too much. And it's kind of all about quite grown-up desires and stuff. So, but then things like Francis the Scaredy Cat are just lovely, really young stories. So yeah, that's what. And I'm just really excited about seeing what the actors and the directors come up with. Yeah.
Well, so are we, and we're so pleased that this is another opportunity of those creative people of Hastings not giving in to lockdown, and that we're able to bring these creative talents together in a different way. Yes, and absolutely, I completely agree with you. See what the actors come up with, and that's very confident of you to relinquish that and let them transform, maybe, or I don't know, see what they will see in 2 weeks' time, what they come up with. So at the time of us talking, the recording hasn't yet taken place, I know that. So you've mentioned the Hastings context, and I think that's something that is a kind of theme of the creative people in the area. And I look at some of your artistic work, the lino prints, and I see seagulls, and I think I see a sea that I recognise. How do you recognise a Hastings influence in your work? Do you promote a Hastings influence in your work? How do you see it?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's loads of prints that are kind of specifically drawn, particularly down on Rockanaw, and kind of walking further along the coast towards the country park. There's a particular series of prints called Hastings Rock Pools, which is of children exploring Hastings rock pools. And I did a book called The Shipwrecked Sailor, which is all photographs of Rockanaw with kind of adding to photographs of Rockanaw and setting a story specifically in Rockanaw. So Hastings is everything's kind of saturated with Hastings. Definitely.
We approve.
And weirdly enough, strangely enough, it wasn't ready for this, which is quite annoying. I've actually written a book called a book about a carnival, and it is really inspired much more specifically by Hastings. But that's not ready and it's not published yet. But I'm really hoping to find a publisher for that. It's all inspired by the carnival. It's set in a. It's not about specifically Hastings Carnival. It's the more generic carnival, a celebration of carnival in general. But it just would not. I would not be making work about the carnival if it wasn't for Hastings and Jack in the Green and the Bonfire Night Parade and Hastings Carnival itself. So it's completely inspired by Hastings Carnival. It just wouldn't happen without it. It's full of drummers and all sorts. But yeah, it's one I really want to do with a big publisher. So I'm kind of haven't got there yet with that, but it's all written and I'm trying to find somewhere for it. But so hopefully this time next year, fingers.
Oh, that would be amazing, fantastic. They just seem too feeble as words to answer to that. I mean, yes, and the fact that you've mentioned the street energy and colour in the parade that is integral to Hastings and what the people of Hastings will step out and do. Oh yes, I'm so proud and pleased. I can't tell you to hear that. A book based on, what we do. And of course, last Sunday would have been Pirates Day.
Yeah,
And we saw one person dressed up as a pirate, and that was,
yeah. Yeah, if you don't know what it's like, and you don't come from somewhere like Hastings, or you just have no kind of clue of all this colour, and my kids who've lived here all their life, which I haven't, I've been here 20 years, they kind of just take it for granted. They think it's normal.
Yes.
And it's really not,
Yes, they do.
in a really good way. It's really not. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Yes, when I was in education, telling sixth formers when they went to university to say, don't forget, if you talk about bonfire, if you talk about Jack in the Green, people elsewhere in the country, you'll need to fly the flag and explain what that means.
Yes.
And there's that kind of, what? No, you need to explain it. And then when you try and explain them, you still get that face of what's this person talking about, because you've got to come and see it, then you know what we're talking about and what we do. So so you're not Hastings born and bred?
No, we came
admission time.
We've been here since 2001, is it, or 2000? And I'm from kind of Cambridgeshire up there. But we've been here 20 years. And the first night we were here, we lived on the High Street first of all, and with the first night we were here, we didn't know it was happening, but bonfire night kind of stormed past, and we didn't know that was going to happen, and it was just kind of incredible. We just had no idea, and we were kind of sitting out on the street and taking all this in, and it was just like, wow, this is incredible. We go to all the festivals that happen, all the different variations of the carnivals.
Absolutely. Oh, brilliant. Well, that's amazing. I think that's a great story. And you think, why don't estate agents tell you? Oh my God. Yeah. But we're the same. We moved into our house. We're up on the West Hill. We moved into our house the night of Carnival. 20 odd years ago, and pushing the pram up donkey steeps to watch the carnival, the fireworks off the castle, and then suddenly realising, oh, we're already up the hill. We could go to our new house. That was rather than trying to find somewhere to park. Oh well, that's brilliant. So what made you move down to Hastings then?
We were in Brighton quite briefly, and we kept kind of looking along the coast for somewhere to live, because we had a tiny little place in Brighton, and we kept kind of looking and trying to sort of go somewhere where we could afford to get somewhere a bit better, but kind of still be a part of Brighton. And we just kept looking further and further, and Rachel, my wife, actually had a little job in Hastings, and she was commuting over here.
That's not an easy journey.
And she was like, Hastings is amazing, just come and see. And and we just kind of took this jump of thinking, rather than going somewhere that, don't want to diss kind of Eastbourne or Newhaven, but rather than going somewhere that maybe didn't feel quite as exciting, no offense to those places, as but still trying to keep that connection with Brighton, let's just move somewhere completely different that feels equally as exciting in a different way. And we haven't been at all disappointed ever since. It's been fantastic. So no complaints about Hastings.
Oh no. Well, preaching to the choir there, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it's funny how we kind of overlook that there's an Eastbourne between Hastings and Brighton.
Well,
Other
yeah.
us do,
Well,
but
no, I do really like Eastbourne. I
I
do
do.
really like.
The theatres. I appreciate the
Yeah,
theatres being there because they're
yeah,
kind of the closest to us.
yeah. And town is great, and I've done lots of nice things in Eastbourne, but it
Yep.
just doesn't quite feel. It doesn't feel like quite like somewhere I'd want to live, but it's a delight. It's a great, great place.
Yes, we think of it as the raw. There's a raw energy in
Yeah,
Hastings. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
And we hope. Well, we also hope things like the White Rock will stay alive over this. I know I mentioned
Yeah, yeah.
the Eastbourne theatres, but so how are you coping in 2020? How are you coping in lockdown?
Um, I have to admit, I've really quite enjoyed quite a lot of aspects of it. I've enjoyed really slowing down and um, doing lots of writing and lots of drawing and taking stock a bit and just having the time to actually complete or work on some projects that have I haven't got round to, and which has been great. And the kind of routine with the family's been quite nice too, really nice. You know, having the children at home and going for walks every day.
Yeah.
So on our little tiny bit of the world, it's been quite nice. That's not to kind of downplay how awful it's been, but because it really has for so many people. But yeah, on a day-to-day kind of way, I've kind of, you know, benefited from the peace and quiet.
Yes, we're used to only hearing the seagulls up
Mm,
where we are, and those first few weeks when there were no cars, and
yeah,
suddenly hearing birdsong that we would never through, absolutely thrown by that. And then our walking places up on the West Hill to the castle, Ladies Park,
yeah,
and again those first weeks being up on the West Hill and actually being able to hear the sound of the sea or at that high and that far away because of the traffic not cutting
yeah,
across. And I see in your work that there is that there is a wistfulness maybe in that, very atmospheric, and have that child view of wonder, and that
I hope
child
so.
view.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
is that
Well,
something you actively
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you've got all those things, then that's brilliant because that they're all the things I'm going for. So that's great.
So a couple of times you've mentioned the word dream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all. Yeah, I think with yeah, it's all about yeah, daydream and a chance to kind of think and reflect and see where your thoughts go. And I think um, both the kind of visual artwork and the stories and the poems all kind of have that quality to them, I hope. Yeah, and
Yes.
yeah, and you know these elemental things, the sea, the forest, um, just you there's no, you can't possibly get bored. Those things can never become jaded. You can always say something new about being in a forest and always say something new about being by the sea or the symbolism of the sea or journeys across the sea. A poet called Mary Oliver, who's one of my favourites, said, the sea is the most amazing fact in the universe, you know, and I just think and so I'm always going back to kind of daydreaming with the sea and drifting across the sea, but equally with the forest, you know, being with trees and climbing trees, you know, these kind of elemental experiences. I think,
Yes.
and I think if it's childhood, I think a lot of the time it is. I hadn't really quite thought about this before, but if it is about childhood, it's often because of that. It's because you have these initial experiences of those places when you're very small, and perhaps you're always kind of trying to get back to that kind of really those first experiences of these places in some way. But a kind of childhood that never kind of gets old. Gosh, I might stop. I think I'm getting on. I think I'm getting carried away.
Yeah, but no, but that being 21 and the future, how do you see, and what's your kind of your hopes and dreams for 2021 and beyond, and how you think the world may or may not have changed?
Wow, crikey. I mean, for me, I've got just on a totally personal level. I've got some publishing projects that I'm really excited about that I really hope kind of come to fruition. This Carnival book I was talking about, and another book of my poems, and some stories for slightly older children that I've kind of my labours of love that I've been working on during lockdown and before, and doing lots more things with galleries, doing lots more printmaking, lots more, real hands-on making stuff. And I do lots of educational work too, which I completely love, and I want to take that from strength to strength too. Just absolutely love working with kids. In terms of the whole world and where we are, I don't know. I'm kind of. I think this might be stating the obvious. I'm really hoping that Donald Trump doesn't get in again. I'm kind of stating the obvious there, and I think that'll be a great big sort of sense of relief, and I think it will make the air. It'll make the whole environment somehow feel a bit lighter, So I'm very optimistic about that, and I just hope that people really, on every level, kind of take on board things that the good things from lockdown, and work from home more. And drive less and go out for walks, carry on going out for walks, and respect and love the NHS more. And I really hope all those environmental and things continue, and also just the kind of respect and admiration for key workers in the NHS. Yeah, absolutely. So I really hope those things carry on. Yeah.
Completely, and that's it feels like that moment of pause to actually rethink and check our priorities. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As to what's important in our lives, who's important in our lives, and what can we do better in ourselves to be better citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I don't think we could end on a better note, and I'm really sorry that I've had issues with my connection this afternoon, so thank you for your patience. And I can't wait to see the book. I can't wait to see that come out. This year anyway, the theme for Carnival Day is children's storybooks. We were hoping, obviously, everyone would be parading or watching. We don't mind whether people are dressed up watching. It's all part of the atmosphere and the whole thing on the streets. Everybody together makes the atmosphere. So we're looking to see people dressed up in their outfits. Hopefully.
Fantastic.
Online.
Look forward to Yeah.
Well, many thanks for your time. That's been absolutely brilliant, and we look forward to hearing those bedtime stories.
Yeah,
don't give us nightmares.
Yeah. Well, Tia Minogue might, but hopefully not the others. Nice one. Anyway, yeah, it's lovely to talk to you. It's been really good fun.
Oh, it's been an honour to meet you. Thank you very much.